When Caitlin Clark, Gabby Marshall, and Kate Martin stepped onto that stage to receive their championship rings, it wasn't just a moment of acknowledgement but a celebratory reunion. These three athletes, who have come to define Iowa basketball in recent years, were back together, and it was clear they hadn't lost a step. While the rings they were handed sparkled with polished metal and encrusted stones, it was the connection between these three that truly shined. This wasn't about jewelry, it was about journey. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Caitlin Clark, the embodiment of a fearless scorer, held her ring with a casual confidence, as if she knew from the beginning she was destined for this. Not in a brash way, but in the sort of quiet certainty that great athletes exude when they know they've put in the work. Clark, known for her long-range bombs and court vision that can rival anyone in the league, has been the talk of basketball courts and fan chat rooms across the country. Her knack for turning a dead possession into a highlight reel is practically a brand at this point. As she held that ring, Clark didn't try to steal the spotlight or make a grand speech. No, she just gave a little grin, the kind that says, "Yeah, we did this." Standing beside her was Gabby Marshall, whose reputation isn't built on the flash of a deep three or a no-look pass, but on the kind of defense that makes opponents rethink their life choices. Marshall's path hasn't been one of overwhelming media hype or viral moments. She's the player every coach wishes they had on their team, tenacious, steady, and annoyingly reliable on defense. She took her ring, gave it a quick glance, and then broke into a smile that seemed more relieved than celebratory. After all, for someone who's made a name for herself doing the dirty work, recognition isn't always expected, but it sure feels good when it comes. Marshall's humor came out in the way she patted Clark's back, as if to say, "Good job, superstar, but remember who had your back on those fast breaks." And then there's Kate Martin, the glue that held everything together. If you were looking for the heart of this trio, you'd probably find it in Martin. While Clark and Marshall have their clear-cut roles, Martin has been the jack of all trades. It wasn't just her versatility on the court that made her special, but her knack for diffusing tension with a well-placed choke or an eye roll that spoke volumes. When Martin took her ring, she raised it to the audience and made a face, something between a smirk and a smile, like she couldn't quite believe they let her in on this. She's the kind of player who always seemed like she was in on the team's inside joke, and tonight the inside joke just happened to be their shared success. The event wasn't just about these three, of course. There were coaches, families, and fans all buzzing with the energy of a fan base that feels like it's witnessing a new chapter of its history unfold. Still, there was no denying that Clark, Marshall, and Martin were the focal points. Even the media, which can be like a pack of overeager golden retrievers trying to chase every story, seemed to settle down to observe this moment with respect. As the ceremony continued, clips of their greatest moments flashed on the Jumbotron, a montage of long threes, stolen passes, and assists that threaded through defenders like the eye of a needle. The crowd responded with roars and gasps, reliving every buzzer beater and jaw-dropping dime. In the midst of all this was the easy banter between the three. It's not uncommon to see teammates lose touch after a season, each going their separate ways for summer leagues, camps, and personal training. But Clark, Marshall, and Martin acted like they had never left. It's clear they had that bond that goes beyond the court, forged through grueling practices, road trips, and locker room debates over which fast food place is the best post-game stop. During the event, Clark, Marshall, and Martin took turns ribbing each other. Marshall, with her straight-faced sarcasm, made a crack about Clark needing to work on her left-hand dribble. Clark fired back, mentioning the time Marshall airballed a free throw in a quiet gym. The audience ate it up, enjoying this window into the dynamic that kept the team together through the high-pressure situations and endless media scrutiny. Martin, the self-appointed peacemaker, chimed in with a mock-serious, ladies, let's stay focused here, which only got more laughs. There were moments of seriousness, too. Clark took a step back to talk about what this meant for Iowa and its fans. She's known for her on-court swagger, but when she talked about the fans, her voice was clear and genuine. She mentioned growing up and watching Iowa legends play, and now here she was, not only a part of that legacy but adding to it. Marshall echoed the sentiment, albeit with fewer words, opting instead to give a simple nod and an appreciative wave to the crowd. And when Martin spoke, she somehow managed to both thank her teammates and slip in a joke about how Clark needed to stop hogging the TV remote on away games. These three athletes represent something bigger than just basketball. They are proof of the power of a group dynamic, where each player has her role, and every contribution is valued. There's a sense of nostalgia in seeing them come together again because, in a way, it's a reminder of what sports can be at its best, a combination of skill, trust, and a lot of laughs. Even as their stories continued to unfold, this moment was a chance to pause and appreciate what they had achieved together. As the arena continued to clear, Clark, Marshall, and Martin strolled off the stage at their own pace, not particularly rushing to end the night. In a way, this was like any other post-game exit, lingering, reflecting, and letting the night wind down naturally. Clark had her arm slung around Martin's shoulder, while Marshall trailed a step behind, checking something on her phone but still chuckling at a joke Martin had tossed out. It was a glimpse of how these athletes switched so effortlessly between their competitive drive on the court and the relaxed camaraderie off it. What stood out was how relaxed they seemed, despite being such pivotal figures in a story that will be remembered by Iowa fans for years. There wasn't any stiffness or formality in their interactions. Instead, there was a lot of lighthearted teasing, inside jokes, and a shared understanding that they had been through a journey that few truly knew. And that's where these three stand apart, not just in their accomplishments, but in their ability to keep it all in perspective. At one point, as they headed toward the exit, a younger fan, who had clearly hung back to catch a last glimpse, nervously approached them with a piece of memorabilia clutched tightly in his hands. Clark was the first to spot him and nudged Martin, who immediately stepped forward with a big grin. "Hey, buddy." She greeted him warmly, in the way someone greets an old friend. Clark joined in, signing the item with a swift, practiced autograph that still seemed to hold genuine care. Marshall, meanwhile, leaned over to joke with the kid, asking if he could guard Clark one-on-one. The little fan's eyes lit up as he nodded vigorously, and the trio laughed together, with Clark shaking her head like it wasn't even up for debate. For these three, the interactions with fans seem less like an obligation and more like an extension of who they are. It's easy to see why Iowa fans feel such a strong connection to them. They're not just athletes or local heroes. They're relatable, human, and almost impossibly approachable given their level of success. The ring ceremony was a nod to their greatness, but it's their everyday authenticity that cements their legacy. As they finally reached the tunnel leading out of the arena, the trio paused. It felt almost like they were taking a moment to mark this occasion in their minds, understanding that this chapter, this moment of being on top together, doesn't last forever. Even so, they didn't dwell on it for too long. Clark made a remark about hitting up their favorite burger joint, prompting an immediate debate among the three over where to go. It's these small moments, the ones not captured on SportsCenter or in the highlight reels, that make up the real essence of what they built together. For all the wins, accolades, and celebrations, what really defines this trio is their shared joy in each other's company. Even as they left the arena and headed into the cool night air, their voices could still be heard, cracking jokes and planning their next adventure, as if they weren't basketball legends but simply friends with a lot of stories to tell. These kinds of moments reveal that success isn't just about the rings, the trophies, or the recognition. It's not the laughter in the locker rooms, the impromptu dance-offs during team meetings, and the knowing glances on the court that convey trust more than words ever could. Clark, Marshall, and Martin had built more than a winning team. They had created a bond that extended beyond the hardwood. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.